Hello and welcome, Mehdi here, back with the Photoshop 101 series, and today we're gonna create a very cool looking Halloween poster. So we're gonna create this from scratch, and my approach of teaching Photoshop is to show you all the tips and tricks and all the techniques that you need to know, the basic stuff, but approach it in a project-based manner. So Halloween is approaching, and I thought, okay, let's start creating a very cool Halloween poster. So let's go ahead and create our empty canvas. So you're gonna go File, New, or Control N. That's my preferred method. The width we're gonna set it to 768, the height to 1024 pixels, resolution to 74. Click Create. Couple of things. I have added all the timestamps. I will add all the timestamps of this video in the link description below. Also, all the assets that you need to create this poster from start to finish is also in a link in the description. Go ahead and download that. It's probably going to be a zip file, so you need to compress it, decompress it. Once you extracted it, go ahead and go File, Open. You should have all the 8 files that we're going to need for this project. Select everything, Control A or marquee selected, press Open. It will go ahead and open everything for you. Because not all of the files is gonna fit in Photoshop. Photoshop will tile it up. You can use the arrows pointed to the right, and these are all the files open currently. So the one that we need to start our project is Spooky Night. So Spooky Night, we're gonna use that as a background, and we're gonna completely change the color and do a lot of color correction and bits and pieces to it. So this is again the final poster. So let's start with the Spooky Night. Yeah, you can go back and forth between the files that are open. Starting with the Spooky Night, hold Control and press A. So Control A will select the entire canvas. Control C to copy everything. Now you're going to go back to your empty canvas. Press Control V. Control V will paste it into the new canvas. If you hold Control and press T, you go to the Transform tool. The Transform tool will allow you to change the size. Hold Shift to resize the image. If you don't hold Shift, you either squash or stretch the image. You don't want to do that. So I'm going to press Escape to go back to cancel it because I squashed or stretched it. Control T to go back in. This is the most important step. As long as you hold Shift, you're okay. And I think I'm gonna frame it roughly about here. Use the arrow keys to frame it. Look, if you want to do precise framing, I will use the arrow keys on my on the keyboard rather than using the mouse. Now that you're finished with the framing it, Control Enter, it will confirm the positioning and it will confirm the selection. Now that we've done that, we're gonna go to spookynight.jpg. We're gonna close that. It makes things a lot easier. Now let's go back. Let's have a look. What can we add? Let's start adding that haunted house. So haunted house. Before we add it, it's got a background. So here's the first technique. I want you to double click on the lock. Every time you see a lock, let me go back and quickly show you. If there is a lock, I want you to always double click on it to remove the lock before you can do anything to it. So first step, always, if you want to edit something in Photoshop, check in your layer window or layer panel. Is there a lock? If it is, double click, it will just get rid of it. That's perfect. And now that we've get rid of it, let's get rid of the background. So you're going to go to the third tool, or the fourth tool rather. You want to click and hold. Usually it's the quick selection tool that is selected, but we want to select the magic wand tool. And you want to click and select the white background. I think my opacity or my tolerance level is set too low. So I'm going to Control D to deselect, and I'm going to change my tolerance to 32. The higher the tolerance, basically, the easier it is for you to select it. So select it, go in, that's a nice selection, and I deleted it. So again, magic wand is to select it, press delete on your keyboard. That will delete the the background. Unfortunately, we have to do it more than that. As you see here, there is a lot of, I'm gonna just go ahead and select and delete, select and delete. There is a lot of windows and the door. Then we need to quickly select and delete. There we go. Again, the tolerance level is how similar those colors are that you're trying to select. I increased the tolerance levels because I didn't get a very clean selection. 32 is the standard one, so it's default 32. Now that we have got rid of all of the white and all the windows and the doors are done as well, Control A to select everything, Control C to copy. Those are the basics. Control A, Control C, Control V just to select, copy, and then Control V to paste it into a new document. This is not too big, and don't worry about this detailing. We can get rid of it in a bit, or we make it a bit better. Right, roughly about this size, I would say. If you notice with my one, I had flipped it, so we're gonna do that. So let's go back. Actually, I'll press Control Enter to confirm it, but I shouldn't have, because we still need to be in the Control T or the transform mode. So I'll press Control T, be in the transform mode, position it, right click, flip horizontally. So now that we flipped it, I'm gonna position it roughly. We've got the moon in the back. Obviously we don't want to have double moon, and I want to position it roughly around here. I think that would work for me. I like it. I'm gonna confirm it. Control Enter to confirm. Now that you've done that, there's a lot of issue with it. If you have a look, we're seeing the white strip here and there as well, and there's a lot of white around our object. Doesn't look very nice, doesn't look professional, so let's fix that. So I'm gonna go to the second tool, and I'm gonna select, marquee select that white line. I'm gonna press delete on the keyboard. Already cleaner, that's done. Control D to deselect, guys, by the way. So if you need to deselect, Control D to deselect. If there's another line here, I'm gonna select it, Control D, or delete rather. That will get rid of it, and then Control D to deselect. Right, in terms of this white line, here's a very cool technique for you. If you ever copy and paste and your selection wasn't that clean, this is what you need to do. Hold Control and click on the thumbnail. The thumbnail is this small icon on in the layer panel. So if I click and hold Control and click on the thumbnail, it will select everything that is inside that layer. Now that everything is selected, we want to reduce our selection by a couple of pixels. That will get rid of that white pixel. There is a very cool option in the select menu. Select, modify, contract. So you're going to contract the pixels. So if I zoom in, I know it's a couple of pixels I need to get rid of. I'm going to try it with 2 pixels first. That's a bit too much. So I'm going to go back in my history. If the history is not there, history will allow you to go back and forth, by the way. Go to Window, History, go back. Let's change that to 1. Select, modify, contract by 1 pixel. Look what happens. It will select all of that. So what I want to do now, I want to invert the selection. I want everything else to be selected. Right now the house inside, everything is selected in the layer that is there. I want now because I contracted it, I want now invert the selection. So I'm going to go select, inverse. Again, if you remember the shortcut, I wanted to show you where the shortcut is, or where the file option is. It's Control Shift I. I always prefer it. Do it that way. It's just so much quicker. And once you've done that, let me zoom in so you can have a quick look. I'm going to press delete on the keyboard, and it will instantly make it a lot cleaner. Look how clean that looks now. It looks perfect. Same on the top. Don't worry about it. That you're not going to see it, because at this stage there shouldn't be an issue. Right, we will clean up later if we need to. I don't think we're going to notice it anyway, so we're going to leave it. Right, in terms of if you want to work with the different layers, let's quickly name our layers. Do a bit of housekeeping. So we've got our white background in the underneath. This is our main background, so I'm gonna call it background. In terms of our white background, I'm just gonna delete it. We don't need that. In terms of our haunted house, call it house. Done. Right. If you ever want to get rid of a layer temporarily, that's the visibility option. So you can toggle on and off the visibility. I'm going to toggle it off, and I'm going to go to the magic wand tool, and I'm going to select, and I want to select that blue. Right, the reason this happened, look at what I had selected. I had the layer house selected. I cannot be in that layer. I want to be in the background layer. Control D to deselect that rubbish. Be in the background layer, selected, it will select the right content. However, the tolerance is way too high. Control D, go back. Change the tolerance to about 15. 15 or 18 will do. That looks good. Look, only the dark blue is now selected. That's exactly what I want. Obviously, it doesn't match. So the idea is to change that to black. Right. We got our selection. I'll turn on the visibility back. I'm gonna go to layer, and I'm gonna select new fill layer, solid color. This is a very cool way to fill in your selection with a solid color. So layer again. If it was too quick, layer, new fill layer, solid color. Click OK. Change it to black. Done. It's that quick. So again, drag it, change it to black. Okay, done. So that's our solid color. I'm gonna say foreground. FG foreground. That's done. Right. In terms of, I'm gonna rasterize this, by the way. Rasterize it means that I can edit the pixels again, because now it's got the solid color. It's got the mask. So there's a mask, and then you got the color. If you have a mask on a layer, you won't be able to edit it as effectively. So I'm just going to rasterize it. That will apply the mask. Rasterize it and then apply the mask. There we go. Apply mask. Right, we name it foreground. We're going to leave it as this, and hold Alt, scroll. Alt and scroll, you can zoom out again. If you're zoomed in, hold space, you can pan. Right, let's go to our final poster. Let's have a look. What do we need to add? Let's add the gradient inside for the house. Let's do that quickly. Let's go back to our main one. Right, we're gonna create a new layer. Use this icon to create a new layer. And we're gonna call it gradient. Call it gradient, and I'm gonna use click and hold. I'm gonna use the lasso tool, and I'm gonna start doing gradient one at a time. I'm gonna hide the foreground so I can see what I'm doing, and I'm gonna click, hold, drag. One gradient at a time, guys. One window at a time, because you don't want it to look weird. Once you've done that, click and hold the paint bucket tool. You will have access to the gradient. Click the gradient, and then choose, this should be one of the default colors, the orange, yellow, orange. Choose that, and luckily for us, that's perfect color for Halloween. Hold shift if you want to have a straight line. If you don't hold shift, you can have an angle. So I'm going to do it about that. Notice we obviously have it in the wrong order. I'm going to click and drag and reorder my layers. So if I want to go up, I'm going to have the house over the layer gradient. So again, gradient first and then the house. It works just fine. I'm going to be in the grading layer. Control D to deselect. One down, the rest there to go. I'm going to do one more, then I'm going to probably speed it up in the final edit. Click, drag. There. L on your G on your keyboard to go to gradient. Done. Control D to deselect. Let's do one last one. Again, L on your keyboard, that's going to go to lasso tool. Select, quickly, go G on your keyboard, click and drag, done. Right? Control D to deselect. I'm going to speed this up and do the rest of it very quickly. Right, awesome. That's all done. I'm going to bring back my foreground layer. As you can see, so if I were to hide the house, we don't, and I am going to hide the gradient. In my foreground, these two crosses, we don't need that. So let's get rid of that really quickly. I'm going to hold Alt, zoom in, go to the polygon lasso tool, and I'm going to click in between the two. And I just go down a couple of points, and I'm gonna roughly match as best I can to follow that line. That's fine. Go to the next one. Again, when we get close to it, just go there. Once you've done that, you can just do random lines, random points, doesn't matter, because you just want to do a random selection. As long as you got that part okay and that part okay, all you have to do, be in the foreground layer, press delete. That will delete it, all done. Now bring everything back. The house, the gradient, looks perfect. Now we have this. I don't like that. Let's get rid of that quickly. So let's get rid of the foreground. Same technique, guys. So start randomly here. Let's get rid of this because that's interfering with that with the cross in the foreground, and it's just making it a bit of a mess. Because they're all black, they're all silhouette, and too many silhouettes, it just doesn't look nice. So, oh, I accidentally pressed delete, and I was in the wrong layer. So make sure you haven't deleted anything. Right, go back to the house. Let's do that quickly again. And there we go. House, done, done. Bring the foreground back. That's perfect. Right, that looks so much better. Now let's do... yeah, let's change it to orange now. Let's have a look. We've done the haunted house. Let's close that. We don't need it anymore. What else do we need? Let's change the color. So we're going to be in the background layer. This, to change any color for an image, you want to do hue and saturation. So image adjustments, I believe, is hue and saturation. Again, sometimes I forget where they are because I always just remember the shortcuts. Control U, that's the easiest. That's what you need to know. Just remember the shortcut. Control U. You want to change the color, so we want to click on colorize. Click on colorize. This is your intensity of the color. That's the value of it, how light or dark it is. I'm going to leave that 0. Change that to quite intense in terms of saturation. That, I'm looking for an orange one. Or maybe a bit more intense even. Yeah, that's not too bad. So 35, 100, and 0. That's fine. Do I want to make it a bit darker? Possibly, actually. Yeah, let's do it -15 to make it a bit darker. Click OK. I'm quite happy with this. I like it. Alright. That's how you do hue and saturation and colorize an image. Let's go back. Let's do the texture. We're going to add a texture to the moon because I thought originally this was a bit too flat and too boring. So we want to add a texture. So to add a texture, you're going to like this. Control A, Control C, go back to the right one, to the new one. Control V to paste it. Make sure you click and drag. As long as the moon is above the house layer, you're okay. You don't have to be the top layer, foreground layer. As long as it's above it, I think it should be beneath the foreground layer anyway. You want to match it hold Control and move it. Press Control T. You want to hold Shift, resize it proportionally, and match it as best as you can. Look, I'm going to lower the opacity. This is important to match it exactly or as closely as you can. There we go. Hold Shift. I think I kind of messed it up. I didn't drag it from the corner, but it's okay. Look, if you have to squash or stretch it to make it match, this is not perfectly matched with it. Make sure you match it. Press Ctrl Enter. Bring back the opacity. You want to multiply it. You want to change the mode to multiply. The multiply, what it does, it will get rid of all of the lighter color, and it will make those see-through, and it will multiply the dark colors with the, or will merge it with the color underneath or the layer underneath. It will give you a nice texture, and it will look cool. I quite like it. Love it. Looks perfect. Let's move on. Right, let's have a look. Let's bring in yeah, let's do the witch quickly. Right, the witch is, let's get rid of that. It's underneath there. Find the witch again. Control A, Control C. Go back. Control V. Right. It might look like that nothing happened. This is because the image is massive. Press Control T. Zoom out. It's there. You just can't see it. So if I reduce her, she's already there. So again, if this happened, you say, oh, you keep pressing Control V and nothing happens. It has copied. You just cannot see it. Press Control T. Hold Shift, resize it. Space to pan, Alt to zoom in. And then, I love it. I chose this just because it's got a cat on it. And I thought that's quite funny. And it looks cool. And as you all mostly know as well, I love cats. So that's so cool. Right. Love it. Works for me. If you want to go to the move tool and nudge the bed with the keyboard. Nudging is when you press with the arrow keys and nudge it like pixel at a time, or a couple of pixels at a time. So nudge it in place. Hold Alt. Alright. We're getting there. Right. All we need to do now, that's a bit brighter. We can change that in a bit. I probably like it that it's a bit brighter actually. My original version is better. But we do the color adjustments at the end. Let's do the couple of pumpkins and then the rest of them as well. Right, so let's start with the Halloween pumpkins. We know how to get rid of the background. Let's do it quickly. I'm going to show you a different technique now. Right, click, get rid of the layer, the lock. Once you got rid of the lock, go to Select, Color Range, Sample the White. This will select everything that is white in that particular layer. Click OK. It will give you a perfect selection very quickly. So even if you have a very complex shapes in your layer, select color range, works perfectly. Press delete, it will delete it. All done. Right, this is the same thing though. Probably we need to contract the selection and delete it to make it a bit perfect. We'll see. Let's start by extracting one first. I'm going to go to the lasso tool. And I'm going to click and hold and just drag. So just drag and select. This one is okay. Copy it. Let's go to the new one. Paste it. Yeah, have a look. You see that? The white pixel. That does not look good. We have a couple of options. Let's see if we can get rid of it. We have to turn it to black anyway. So press Ctrl U. Again, hue and saturation. All you have to do, just change the lightness and then completely turn it dark. We don't even have to do the contract. I was going to do the contract again. As you remember, we done with the outline of the house. It was white pixels. You don't even need to do that because you're turning every single pixel dark. That white is going to get dark anyway. Alright, let me see my positioning. Okay, I had it next to the cross. I might reposition it here actually. Alright, I think it might look cool. have it here. Right, I like that. I'm just gonna have it here. I'm gonna have one here, and I'm gonna have one there. That will look cool. Right, for the inside is the same with the gradient. Right, let's do a bit of housekeeping. Oh god, right. That was the moon texture. Double click to rename, guys. If you need to rename, hold. If you don't know what it is, just toggle on and off. Which, which, and then pumpkin one. Pumpkin one, and done. Right, go to gradient, have the gradient selected, zoom in. Actually, let me show you another trick. Hold Control and select layer. You're still in the gradient layer. Now zoom in. You start seeing the grid, but that's okay, doesn't matter. Go to the polygon lasso tool, and you're gonna hold Shift. Holding Shift will add to the selection, and then you just want to get rid of that, whatever is inside. Whatever is inside, you want it to be added to the selection. So don't have to be picky, do it quickly. That will get rid of all the inside. Do a gradient again, hold G. Look how cool that looks. Depending how light you want it. Oh, come on. I want to get it right. Sometimes if you're zoomed in too far. Yeah, there we go. That's it. Do as many as it takes. I like that. That looks cool. Right. If you need to reduce it. Yeah, reduce it. But that obviously reduces everything. So it's not too bad. I'm going to leave it 100%. That's okay. Right. Going to speed it up. I'm going to do the second pumpkin there. Then I'm going to come back and we'll do another one. Right, one thing quickly. Right, you need to make a new layer for this pumpkin here. You cannot put the gradient in the gradient layer, because remember, because we have that pumpkin now over the moon or on top of the moon layer, so we have to have the gradient above the moon texture. Then you can do the gradient. Look, so I've done the gradient there. That works. It's fine. So just name it gradient 2. I have named everything so far. In my original one, I didn't name anything. It was just a big mess. Keep it nice and clean like this, so it's fine. Let's have a look. What do we need to add? The rest of the, I'll put back the positioning of that one more, to be honest, but it's okay. You can position it however you want. In terms of these ones, let's get rid of this. We don't need that. We don't need the moon anymore. Alright, which we don't want anymore. Right, spooky pumpkins. Control A, Control C. Go back, Control V. That one is easy. All you have to do is just place it. Put it above the foreground layer. So it should be the very top. Spooky pumpkins. And that's it. Resize it. Make sure it's, you're happy with the size and the positioning. I'm going to rotate it a bit. So go in the corner. Just rotate it a bit. I quite like that. Again, hold Control and nudge it. Or just use the arrow key. As long as you're in the right tool, you can just nudge it like that. That works for me. I like it. Let's move on. Spooky pumpkin. Close it. Done. Alright, we've got 2 more things. and a new technique coming up soon. So coming with this one, Control A, Control C, go back, Control V. This is the first thing you need to do before you do that. Obviously black and black is not going to work in this case. Control I, it will invert everything. So Control I will invert, and I believe, let me just confirm this, it is in, there we go, it's adjustments, image adjustments, Control I. Again, as long as you know the shortcuts, you never need to know where it is in the menu. I mean, it just takes longer anyway. Hold Alt, zoom in, position it, rotate it, line it up, have the same angle of the house. Done. Control Enter. Halloween text, done. Do the same thing, Control A, Control C, go back, Control V, Control I to invert. You see all the shortcuts here, so at any time if you forget what it is, just have a look at the screen, it should show up. Alt and scroll in. These are free fonts from 1001 Fonts. One of the best websites to just find royalty free fonts. Free. All the images used are also free and royalty free. There are no copyright on the images, and voila, we are done. In terms of the color correction, I'm actually going to leave it a bit darker. It's fine. You know how to do it. If you want to make it a bit lighter, go here, Control U. And then you can make it a bit lighter. Preview it. Yeah, a tad lighter, done. Let's close the last one. Right, that's it. We're at the end of the tutorial for today. The project is done. And just have a quick comparison. Looks a bit darker, which is fine. You can adjust it yourself. And I hope you enjoyed it. We covered a lot of basic tools and technique to create a simple poster in Photoshop. We're going to continue the 101 series in future videos, but you should right now have enough knowledge and skills of Photoshop to be able to create very similar posters to this. Make sure you like the video, share, and if you haven't subscribed, make sure you subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.